Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. How's everybody doing? All right. Who am I and why are we here? My name is Arcel, and this is GetSaxxy, and we are here to talk about the saxophone. I've been playing music since I was a little kid. My musical journey started when I was 3 years old by just listening to my brother playing the piano. And by the age of 5, I was playing the piano. I was studying the piano, and at the age of 7 or 8, I got the saxophone in my home. My dad just brought it home. I asked them, can I play this? And they're like, no. And I asked, why? And they said, because you're too young. And I was like, all right, I'll show you what's up. Well, take maybe 7 years after that, I got they stopped playing, and I got my scholarship to go to study saxophone in the United States in California. So yeah, I was 14 years old, and I got accepted to a boarding arts high school in California called Idlewild Arts Academy. And there I was mentored by Miles Davis's bass player, Marshall Hawkins, Frank Zappa's saxophonist, Paul Carmen. And we had an amazing team of musicians over there that they trained us really, really well. After 4 years of getting their mentorship, I applied to Berklee College of Music, and I got scholarship. I thought I could do better. So I applied again, and I got more scholarship from Berklee, and there my journey at Berklee started. At Berklee, I studied with George Garzone, Frank Tiberi, with Harry Scholar, and amazing, amazing musicians. And as you know, Berklee is what a wild school that we have amazing musicians. So all the people over there were also my teachers. 4 years of studying at Berklee, I graduated, I got my bachelor's in music, and somehow I found myself living on this beautiful island in Thailand. Now I live in Thailand for the last 3-4 years, and I gig here. It's an island, a very touristic island, and the island knows me as the saxophone player to call on the gig whenever necessary. So I've been running around playing everywhere here, sometimes going up in north of Thailand and hitting the jazz bars over there, but mainly staying down in the south. During my US years, I played with many people such as Charles Owens, Bob Boss, Joshua White, performed in various venues in Los Angeles. I played in New York, toured the East Coast, toured internationally in music festivals, and even headlined, and a lot other stuff. And what are we doing today? So we are here today. This is a masterclass of saxophone. So we're going to be talking a lot about the saxophone. If you're a beginner, you're going to get a lot from this. Intermediates and more advanced players, you're going to get a lot as well. We're going to look at your fundamentals, and over the time, by the end, you're going to get a lot more stuff that you're going to be able to use. But we're starting from the basics for the beginners. So I want to start first from the equipment. We have our saxophone mouthpiece. This is a very important part of the saxophone setup, because more than the saxophone, this is the sound, and we're going to get to that. And then we have our reed over here, which is a very delicate piece of wood that is very easy to break, but make sure to be taking good care of this. And to have this in mind, when you open a new pack of reed, usually it comes in 10 pieces of reeds or 5 pieces, depending on what kind of horn you're playing. But keep in mind, not all the reed are good. So you need to be trying out every single reed in the box to make sure to get the best one, because you might not get the good one in the first try, and you might think, oh, this is not working for me. But yeah, go ahead and try every reed. That's how you find the reed for you, and make sure to take good care of it. Do not break it. It's very delicate. If this doesn't exist, there's no sound. After the reed and the mouthpiece, we got our ligature. The ligature goes inside the mouthpiece, and it holds the reed in place, and that's literally what it does. There are many talks about if this ligature makes a difference in the sound, if this is that. No, the ligature is there for you to just put your reed in place and make it stable. As long as it keeps the reed in place and doesn't harm your mouthpiece, then you're good to go. And then we have our neck. This is the neck. The mouthpiece connects over here, and this part goes into the saxophone. This is also called the crook. Some people call it the crook. Some people call it the neck. I call it the neck, and that's what I've called my whole life. And then we have the body of our saxophone. This is where all the notes are in your saxophone, and you're going to be doing a lot of work on this piece of metal with a lot of different mechanics. And then we got the neck strap that ties into the saxophone, and then the cleaners that you clean every time after playing your saxophone. In order to play your saxophone, the saxophone must be fully functional. I mean, that's like the first thing that you need. How do you check if your saxophone is fully functional? What does fully functional means? First of all the notes needs to be in place. You need to be able to close them fully. It shouldn't be leaking. And there's a way you can check if your saxophone is leaking or not. So what you do is you close all the notes, all down to the B flat. And when you close all of this and just press this finger like this, it needs to give like a boom, boom. That shows that it resonates, so that it is fully closed, it's not leaking. Another thing that goes with the saxophones is that if everything in your saxophone is functioning well, then you're good to go. Maybe get it checked, from time to time. But a saxophone, it doesn't mean that the saxophone is really, really good if it's really, really expensive. There's a very big misconception of buying the best saxophone out there, getting the latest one or getting the old ones that we all love the sound of. Well, they are usually very, very expensive. When you look at a Salmer Mark VI, it's very expensive. And especially if you're a beginner or an intermediate, you really don't need a professional saxophone. So don't go around chasing the best saxophone, but work with what you already have. Master that. Use your tools. You don't have to get the best one out there. I mean, the best one doesn't even exist. It all depends on you. You are the real instrument out there. One thing that I want to make very, very clear, more than the saxophone talk out there, there's this mouthpiece talk. You know about this mouthpiece talk, right? Everybody's saying, oh, this mouthpiece sounds amazing. Wow. Well, let me tell you something. I've been playing on this mouthpiece for the last 10 years, 9 years, something like that. Since I bought my professional saxophone, I've been playing only on one mouthpiece. This is for my alto, and for my tenor, I'm only using this one. These two are my whole collection of mouthpieces. So why do we have all this mouthpiece talk? It's because it's great marketing to sell. But instead of spending all this time and energy into buying the best mouthpiece out there, go and master your mouthpiece. Because the mouthpiece needs to be good mouthpiece. Don't just use the one that came out from the original saxophone case, but actually go do your research and find a mouthpiece that you resonate with. You're a musician, you know what resonate means. Go and find a mouthpiece that you resonate with and stick with it. Stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. Form the best embouchure possible for your mouthpiece, because looking and chasing that the mouthpiece is not gonna come. That's not gonna happen. You are the actual instrument, and you have to take control by mastering your own tools. And the journey of the sound throughout the saxophone. How do you make sound out of saxophone? Everything starts with a breath. Breath is everything. Do not forget this, because you're a saxophonist and you will learn automatically how to use your breath. What we do is we use our diaphragm. Okay, so in our daily life, we usually breathe from up here, okay? Pay attention to how you are breathing right now. Probably your chest is going up and down. But naturally, when we are kids, when we are sleeping, we are breathing from our diaphragm. And this diaphragm is our natural state. The reason we are breathing from our lungs is that this lifestyle that we are living in is conditioning us to breathe that way. This is the breath. This lung breath is the breath of panic. Actually, you should be breathing from your stomach. So I want you to stand up or just sit down, or lay down, whatever feels most comfortable for you, and take your hands and put it into your stomach and just watch. When you are breathing in, breathe it into your diaphragm and not into your lungs. Okay, take a breath with me. And then out. Taking this breath, as you can see, it changes your energy. It calms you down. It takes you to another place, because the breath is life. The breath is our center point. The breath is the thing that connects us to life, right? And mastering this breath and paying attention and staying with it, being in the present moment and spending time just understanding this breath, this simple thing that connects us to life, changes everything. Your mood, your life. If you're breathing fully, your cells are getting the oxygen that it needs, and now all of a sudden you're just more healthy. So as saxophonists, we are already learning this breath and applying it in our playing, and then we apply it into our life, and then it automatically makes your life much, much better. So keep your mind into reminding yourself that the breath should be coming from your stomach. The reason we are doing this breath is that it gives a lot of power. It gives a lot of power that we can channel into the saxophone, because the sound that we're making is the most important thing. I mean, it tells the audience who we are as saxophone players more than anything. More than anything, they first hear your sound, and if they don't like what they hear, they're gonna go away. They gotta like what they hear. Breath of life. Just breathe it in. The sound that you make here in quantum entanglement says that you are vibrating another cell, another atom on the other side of the universe instantly at the same time. So when you're playing the saxophone, I want you to take that breath of life and play like you're making another star move on the other side of the universe. That's your mission as a saxophonist, to change, to move people, to move the stars on the other side of the universe. That's the power you have as a saxophonist. The setup of the mouthpiece and the neck. You know, this is our neck, this is our mouthpiece. We need to put these together, right? Especially for the beginner ones who might not know about this. As you can see here, there's this mechanic, right? And saxophone, although it is metal and it looks tough, but you need to be careful with this instrument. It can bend anytime if you do something wrong. So do not hold it like this, or like, you know, in any weird way. Just make sure that you are not damaging this part as you are putting your mouthpiece onto the neck. Only after putting the neck and the mouthpiece together, we put our reed on the mouthpiece. And the reason we are doing this is that if we put the reed on the mouthpiece and then put the neck and the mouthpiece together, then we would have it would be likely that we would damage our reed, because this is a very, very delicate part of the instrument. It's very important. This creates the sound. You breathe inside this, and the breath turns into this vibrational energy, then converts into sound, and then that's the magic that happens in our saxophone. And in this little tiny piece of wood. So we got to make sure to put it together very carefully. So what I'm going to do is take my ligature out and put this reed in my mouth. We need to wet our reed. So, and we got to wet the whole thing. So right now it is wet. And the reason I'm making this wet is that we want it to stick and seal on the mouthpiece. And I'm just gonna wet this side as well. I don't always do it, but doing it is good because it gives a very good seal. So I just lick my thumb or something and then put it on here. And now, because it is wet already, even without putting the ligature, it sticks to itself. But we're of course going to put the ligature on. So when we are putting our mouthpiece together with the reed, we want to make sure that everything is even. So you can see the bottom side of your mouthpiece is going to be at the equal width as your reed, right? So you're going to put it and you're going to align it so that it doesn't go to the left, it doesn't go to the right. And on the top, you want to make sure that it's not going up or down. It needs to be at the same, you know, you want it to be equal so that you can use the most of it. And then we're going to put the ligature on. How we're going to put the ligature on is that we're going to make sure that it is wide enough so that we don't just, as we're putting it, we don't damage the reed. One side of it actually is a little wider then the other side. So the wider side is going to go on the bottom, and here the knob is to the right. So I'm just going to put it all the way down. I'm going to align my reed over here. And then after doing all of that, I seal it. And now I have everything well established. How am I going to know if I did everything correctly? It sounds, let's see. Yeah, it sounds all right. But I want to check if I have sealed it fully. So how we're going to check the seal is you're going to put your hand in the bottom and we're going to suck on the mouthpiece to seal it and see how it's sealed. So let's try it. You can hear that shows that it vacuums. So when I'm doing this, I'm vacuuming the neck into my hand and taking it out, and that shows me how well it's sealed. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, I think you can hear it. We are coming to embouchure. What is embouchure? As we talked before, embouchure is our mouth. Your embouchure is basically your sound, how you create the sound. And when you're playing, the sound goes out of your mouth, but it doesn't just get out from the other side. The sound travels both ways. And the both ways meaning that there's a resonancy that's being created within the saxophone and your body. So it goes here and then comes back, and our throat plays a very, very big role into this resonance. We want to have an open throat. This open throat allows us to play what we are playing and our unique sound. As I'm playing, my throat opens up. And this creates this resonance that we want within our body, and this creates that unique sound that you have. And when you practice your embouchure, you're looking for that. How are you going to place your embouchure, your mouth, into the saxophone? The top of the mouthpiece is going to be supported by your top two teeth. So right here. And your bottom lip is going to be flat on the bottom that's covering the reed. And it's going to be about 1 inch or so inside. Here, I want to give credit to Jamie Anderson, a great saxophone YouTuber. I learned from him also this. What you're going to do is that you're going to say the letter V. And when you're saying V, your bottom lip is creating that shape that you want in your saxophone reed. Put it in your mouth like you're saying V. V, V. And this is the position. This is the position that you want into your saxophone embouchure. When you're doing this, create a light but firm seal around the mouthpiece. So you don't want air to be coming out of on the sides. You want to fully seal of the mouthpiece, because this is exactly where we're putting the breath into the saxophone and creating the beautiful sound that we want. And in the book, I give you exercises and routines for this. So if you get the book, you will get a lot of information about this. And the body position and how to handle the sax, how to hold the saxophone. First of all, let's talk about how to hold it as we are not playing it, okay? You know, let's say you played a gig or you practiced. How do you hold it? Do you hold it from here? Do you hold it from here? No, you hold it from here, right under the bell, because this is the most stable part of the saxophone, where you don't have a lot of mechanics that you can damage. You don't want to damage your saxophone. So, and this is basically the center point of the weight center point of the saxophone. So this is a great place to hold your saxophone. If you are holding with two hands, you know, hold the other side gently as well, but make sure that you are covering it on the bell, and never, ever, never, never, ever, ever, ever hold it from here. That's like the last thing you want to do. Okay. Promise yourself right now. And when we're laying down our saxophone, how do you lay down your saxophone? You practiced, you're, you know, tired. Do you put it like this or like this? You need to lay it down like this, because on this side, on the other side, you have the palm keys, and you don't want to damage the palm keys, especially the palm keys, because these notes are in the higher part of the saxophone. And if these are damaged, then these holes are open, and then you cannot create any sound. So what you're going to do is that you're going to lay it down this way. So make sure you put your saxophone down correctly. Don't damage your saxophone. When we are done with our playing, we want to make sure to put this cap always back on. The reed is a very delicate piece of wood, and we don't want to break it, because in one box, you get 1 or 2 good reeds. One box of 10, you get 1 or 2 good reeds, and you don't want to just damage it. It's expensive. If you have good reed, you just take care of it as well as possible. We put our saxophone, we put our mouthpiece cap. Here is a little screw. So what you can do with the screw is that you can unscrew it or make it tighter. It just allows the neck to go in and out easier. So that's a very good thing to know. And when you're playing, you want to have your back straight up. And why this is that we want our diaphragm to be open. Like we talked about, our breath, our diaphragm needs to be open. So we want to sit up straight. And if we're standing up, we want to stand up straight. We want to be firm, but also very comfortable. You don't want to be stiff, like, wow. No, you want to be comfortable, but firm in your grounding. So make sure you're sitting up straight. If you are putting the saxophone to the right, then make sure to adjust your mouthpiece to your mouth. Instead of turning around like this, instead of turning like this, just turn your mouthpiece and then play. You know, don't do this. Fit the instrument to you. Don't fit yourself to the instruments. When we're playing, especially beginners, intermediates, what we see is that our fingers are very stiff. This stiffness, like, how are we going to get rid of that? Well, you just have to remind yourself to relax. The instrument, think of this instrument like a baby cat or your loved one. You know, you wouldn't just go and like squeeze them. You would love them. You would be gentle. So be gentle with this instrument because you love it. This is your baby. This is my baby. Her name is Margaret, and I love Margaret. So I touch her notes gently, and we create beautiful music together. You want to be comfortable with your instrument. You put your left thumb over here. This is a place where you rest your left thumb, and this is also where the registry key is. This registry key is there because it makes every note an octave higher, basically. So when you're playing your notes, you want to be able to press this as easy as possible as you're playing. So that's why they put it over here. Don't put your left thumb like this, or don't put it over. Just rest it at the designated spot over here where you can reach the registry key as easy as possible. And for your right hand, where it's going to rest is right here. There's a hook for your right thumb to go. And this allows you to also balance the saxophone. As you put these, it's going to come to the front. You're going to see these C's, and you just want to be relaxed with your fingers. Just let them slide. Let them do what they are doing. We're going to practice, and we're going to get the muscle memory. And that's, you know, that's what practice is, building muscle memory, learning new things. And we just want to remind ourselves to be calm and nice. Let's talk about long tones. Long tones are very interesting. There's a lot of chit chat around long tones, and not a lot of people like it. But the thing is, long tones are the best workout for your embouchure. It's the best way of getting a great sound. It gives strength. It gives endurance. It tunes it allows you to be in tune. And for your intonation, basically, you know, you want to make sure that these muscles that you need the most to create that sound to be as strong, as established as possible. And how you do it is long tones. And what long tones are is exactly what it sounds like. These are long notes, long tones that you play over and over and over in all keys. It sounds very boring, I understand, just playing one note, but it's very essential, and there's a hack to it. At least for myself, it worked. And I've seen it work for a lot of people. And this actually changed my life. To start to see these long notes as meditations. What is meditation? Being by yourself and clearing out your mind and maybe focusing on one thing. It's different. There's a lot of different explanations for meditation, but the way I see it is to tame your mind, to know how this machine works. And in order to know how this machine works, the saxophone machine, you have to be also aligned with yourself. And long tones are a great way of putting these two together. When you play the long notes, first of all, you're working on your breath. We are doing our saxophone breath. And this already puts us into this meditative state. And as we're playing and focusing on getting the right sound, the right tone, we're looking at the tuner in front of us. Always work with a tuner, by the way. Just watch it and make sure that it's always in the green. It's always in tune, and stay in that meditative state, because the time passes differently there. You get ideas. You go to another dimension. And thanks to this instrument, I started doing this at the age of 8, 9, and it changed my life. I mean, meditation has changed my life. It all started with this beautiful machinery here. And now I do it every day outside of playing saxophone as well. So this long tones are not just going to help you in your saxophone, it's also going to help you in your life. And I want to give you one also different way of using long tones. So if, let's say, you're just bored of playing long, same note, try dynamic exercises in your long tones. What I mean by dynamic exercises is that start from very little and then go up, crescendo. And then when you reach that peak, bring us down to the bottom. This might be a little harder if you're just starting out. You just work on it over time. You work on this embouchure, and then you're going to get it in no time. In the book, I give you instructions and notes on when and how to practice these long tones. So don't worry, I will be teaching you over there in the book. Also, as we were talking about long tones, it, without saying, comes overtones and harmonics. What are overtones and harmonics? Well, overtones and harmonics are actually a very fundamental part of the sound. It's not only about the saxophone, it's about sound. So my voice has overtones and harmonics. Your voice, my cat's voice, it's there, existent. It's really important to understand as saxophone players, because then we can work around our sound. And because it exists everywhere, playing it in your saxophone is just a very good practice to get your embouchure together. The overtone series goes like that: the root, the 1 octave up harmonic, and then the 5th, and so on. And that creates the unique sound that you have. That's what makes every sound unique, the overtones and the harmonics. Just playing the high register without playing this registry button, but playing over the overtones, and it adds a lot of richness to the sound. We are coming to a very, very important part, which is scales. Scales are super, super, super important. Well, music is a language, right? Music is a language without a language. You don't need to understand music. You don't need to be able to speak music to understand music. Music is universal. And when it comes to analyzing this language of music, the notes becomes the letters, the scales becomes the alphabet, the phrases becomes the word, the sections of the song becomes the paragraph, and the song itself becomes the story. And then as the musician, you become the storyteller. How exciting is that? You're literally communicating with people by using sounds. Beautiful. And scales are everything, because scales is your alphabet. And we have many different alphabets. We have, for example, in our speaking language, we have Latin alphabet, we have Arabic alphabet, we have, all sorts, Chinese alphabet, Japanese alphabet. Well, these are harmonic minor scales, major scales, melodic minor scales, whole tone, half tone, diminished. These are all the scales. These are all the alphabets that we can use to give different emotions, to tell different stories to people. So scales are everything, and we need to understand and be able to play them in our horn, because they open the gate to everything, basically. Mastering the scales in all keys will allow you to play at any given moment, at any given melody, anytime, because it is created by scales. They're the fundamentals of your technique. And when you're practicing your scales, practice them with a metronome. When you're practicing, always practice with a metronome, because the rhythm is also a part of music. You need to be very much in rhythm. Marshall Hawkins, Miles Davis's bass player, my mentor, he was always telling us, especially the horn section, you guys need to practice with metronome, because you are the actual rhythm people. The rhythm section is thinking about it, but if you're not thinking about it, if you're not actively doing it, then they're not, like you're basically leaving all that stuff on somebody else. But playing in time, playing in good rhythm will change a lot of stuff, will open a lot of doors, and you can create many different variations of many different ideas. So always use a metronome, and make sure that you are very good at your time. Have that inner rhythm. Work on this inner rhythm that you have. And when you're practicing on your scales, have a goal to play your scales at 90 BPM. And also not only your scales, your diatonic thirds and your major arpeggios. Don't just start at 90 BPM, but have a goal to be able to play all of your major scales at 90 BPM at some point comfortably and confidently. Okay. I'm saying this because this is what they made us do at Berklee in my first semester. My first semester at Berklee College of Music, they asked me to play all the major keys, all the major diatonic thirds, all the major arpeggios in every single variation at 90 BPM. So keep that in mind. Set that goal. Become a Berklee level musician. It's not too much out there. You might be starting now, but in 12 weeks, you could be there. I know exactly how to get you there, and it's in the book. So keep that in your mind. Okay, there's also this thing that we have called practice. Practice. How do we practice? What are we going to practice? Well, when we're practicing, especially in the beginner, practice little by little, but every day. Often little, often little. Microdose on music on a daily basis. And as you're practicing, do not get stuck playing the same things that you already know over and over, because that's not going to get you anywhere. So isolate the parts that you're playing wrong. Let's say you're playing A flat major scale. The low register in your saxophone is not coming out as you want. And you're just playing around in the mid, and you know that the bottom is not coming out. So what you need to do is that isolate that bottom part, the low register notes, and just practice them for some time. Set a metronome to a low tempo and practice it, right? That's how you're going to get better, by just practicing what you don't know. And practice slow. When you practice fast, it's more likely to make mistakes. We all do more mistakes when we're playing faster. And the thing is, the more you play wrong, the fast, you learn that. And unlearning that and learning the correct way is actually harder than just playing it slow and correctly in the first place, and then building it to be faster. So practice slow with a metronome and focus on the parts where you are having most trouble. All right, this is how we practice, but what are we going to practice in this practice sessions? Well, first of all, have a practice routine that works for you. And what works best for me is this very simple 4 or 5, depending on the time, 5 sections, 5 steps. And if you check out all of these, then you're going to grow no matter what you do, because you're doing exactly what you need to do. So first, do your warm-ups. Warm-ups are great. It's the stretching before running a marathon. Do your warm-ups. And then do your technical exercises. Your technical exercises are making you more comfortable in your instrument. It allows you to serve the wave of music in your instrument. It allows you to speak. So technique is super, super crucial. It makes you fluent with your instrument. After that, look at your long tones. Long tones are very, very, very important to get that sound, that your unique sound. That's going to determine who you are in your playing, are long tones. So get the long tones. It's a very easy exercise to just let go, pass by. No. After our technical exercises, do the long tones. 4, after doing all of this, you're warmed up. You have your mouth, your embouchure ready. You have your technique going for you. Learn the new things that you're working on. Spend some time and go deeper into the new things that you're working on. After learning all of these, number 5 in the practice routine, have fun. Have fun. We love this instrument, and that's why we do it. So let's just remember to have fun. In the book, I'm guiding you day by day for 31 days. And for 2 months after that 31 days, for the next 2 weeks, I'm giving you weekly guidance. And in the last week, also day by day, to make sure we have everything sorted out. Okay. I want to give one secret that I haven't heard anybody talking about. Nobody. I don't know why. I've been using this secret since I was 5. And by using this technique, I was giving concerts with piano at the age of 7 in Vienna. This is the technique how I got accepted with a scholarship to study with Miles Davis's bass player. This is the technique how I went to Berkeley. And the best thing about this technique is that you don't have to physically practice the saxophone to get better. I know it sounds crazy, but wow. When I learned the science behind it, I was like, that makes so much sense. I've been doing that for a long time. So what it is that you just think it. There's this thing called the brain. You are the instrument. I'm always saying you are the instrument. And if you mastered this instrument yourself, then you go wherever you want to go. Okay, they did an experiment on basketball players, all right? They took a random group of people and put them in a place, in a basketball court, and then they divided them into half. Half of them, they told them to practice shooting a basketball into the net on the basketball court. And the other half, they took them into a room and they told them to close their eyes and imagine exactly how they would be doing it in the basketball court, but now in their mind. They tested the score in the beginning, and then they tested the score after doing these separate. And guess what? Both of these groups who actually went and threw the basketball into the net, and the people who were just sitting down and thinking about it in the other room, they got the same score. They improved the same amount. This is called brain plasticity. This is the power of thought. This is the power of mind. And you don't only apply this in your saxophone. You can apply this everywhere, every part of your life. But the good thing is you can apply it in the saxophone as well. How it has been working for me is that I taught myself this connection of notes, numbers, and fingerings. So every note, I have it in my mind as solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, right? And these note names are associated with my fingers. And every time I'm playing the saxophone, in my mind, I am singing these solfeggio, or you can go A, B, C, B flat, whatever. But every time I am playing that note in my saxophone, I am singing it in my mind's ear, and I'm engraving it in my mind. And now, when I am not playing my saxophone, I am hitting my finger F. This is F. And I'm hearing that syllable in my mind. And there's this connection that every time I sing, it goes into my fingers. So every time I'm thinking about a melody, subconsciously, I am learning music. I'm using this so much that it gives me such a freedom. It's beautiful. I definitely recommend you trying it. There was a time where I was mad at music. I was mad at music so much. I was at Berkeley and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I left. That's how I found myself in Thailand first. And I left my saxophone. And I realized that it was not a good idea to leave my saxophone, but I was practicing in my mind the whole time. So 6 months after leaving my saxophone in Boston, I come back from Thailand and I was playing better just because I was practicing it in my mind. And this was really good. And my parents realized this when I was maybe like 6 years old. In my sleep, I was playing it. I was playing piano at that time. So they were watching me play the piano in my dream. My fingers were moving. Before we close off the masterclass, I just wanted to mention one more thing. Listening. Listening is very important. Listening is very, very important because as babies, we are listening to our parents talk our language, right? And that's how we learn our language. That's how you learn to speak your mother tongue. And music is just like that. Victor Wooten was talking about this, and he said that this is how he learned music, which made so much sense to me. You just listen to music, you'll hear it in your head, you have it in your head, and then you play it. You have to have it in here first. So when you're learning a new piece of music, make sure to listen to as many different variations of that piece of music as possible to have all different ideas, gather all the juice from out there and then make it your own. So listen, 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 listen. And one more thing of listening. We said music is a language, right? So when you're communicating with people, when you're having a conversation with somebody, what you do is that you listen to what they say and then you reply. Music is just the same thing. You need to listen and understand what they're saying and then play your instrument. Don't just go and play to show off. Don't just go and play random notes. No, be there, be mindful of what you're playing. You have the power. You're a magician. You're a musician, you're a magician. So be careful with your magic. Just listen to what they're saying and then reply. And if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. Just listen. Listening is the most important thing in your music. If you apply all these things that I shared with you, all this knowledge, I guarantee you, you will be a better saxophonist as soon as possible. I mean, much faster than if you don't apply these. In my book, I wrote down 15 key points of becoming a musician, a very short bullet points that you need to hit as a musician in your professional or hobby music life to become a fulfilled, full-rounded musician, full-rounded saxophonist. As well as doing that, the 15 tips and tricks, I wrote a basic music harmony workbook and a study book. So it teaches you what the music staff is, what the clefs are, where the notes are, rhythm, note values. I made sure I want you to understand because that's the language. That's how you write the language. So we have that in the book. And then after that section, we have 3 months, 12 weeks of guidance. So the first 31 days is day by day. Every single day I wrote for you so that you can learn the best way possible. And after this 31 days, week by week, until the last week, 12th week, I'm also giving you day by day. I hope you enjoyed. It's exciting for me to be connecting with other musicians. And I also offer you my private coaching. If you want to work with me, I would love to get to know you more and see how I can help you become the saxophonist that you want to become. Let's make dreams real, because this was a dream for me to become the saxophonist that I am today. And now I have the knowledge and the capacity to help people to become who they want to become. So make sure to hit me up. Thank you very much for joining this free saxophone masterclass today, and I will see you.